Hi there, I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer. If you're feeling drained, hesitant, stuck in self-doubt, or you just have a case of the vlogs, the Art of Badassery podcast is here to help you unleash your mojo once and for all. We'll provide you with tips, techniques, and real-life examples of how you can kick ass in all areas of your life. You'll learn how to flex your mental muscles, rise above fears, and turn setbacks into superpowers. So let's enter the dojo and let's get to work. Hello and welcome to the Art of Badassery podcast. I'm Jenn Cassetta, your Chief Badassery Officer, and today we have a solo episode with just me and you. And I'm really excited because we're here to talk about boundary setting today. So these solo podcasts are meant to be a boost of badassery for you and also inspired by just real life events that are going on in my life or in the world or in the country or whatever's happening right now. This episode is being recorded on October 29th, 2024, just in case you're wondering. So it's not going to be released until a few more weeks. So when you're hearing this, the elections will be over, hopefully. But right now, we're in that time, just a week away from elections. It's also my anniversary, so it's my 8-year wedding anniversary. And 8 years ago, we were also a week away from Election Day. And we all know what happened then. So this podcast is really, really timely because no matter what happens next week, about half the country feel one way and about half the country feel another way. And there are going to be a lot of uncomfortable conversations, opinions that you don't necessarily agree with, all of that. And just so you know, I am not going to share my opinion here on this podcast. I'm sure you can all guess what it is, but this is not about that, right? This is not about politics. This is about protecting your peace through boundary setting. So today's October 29th, when, again, that I am filming this. And yesterday, I just happened to set a really powerful boundary in my business that I'll share with you. I had to, not that I had to, but I felt like I needed to say no to a client who was asking me to do something for free, and I am doing something for free for them. And then they asked another thing and another thing, another thing, and then they wanted a 45-minute call with me just to set up the free event that I'm doing for them. So I am going to reference this bit in a little bit when we start digging into boundary setting, but I just wanted to put that out there because, again, it's timely for me, and I think it could probably be timely for a lot of you as well. This morning, I also taught a workshop on boundary setting. So one of my offerings is actually a 1-hour workshop on boundary setting for companies and corporations. I did it over Zoom. I can do it in person, but it's really, really effective. And all the comments in the chat today were just affirming that this work really, really is so needed, especially in this time when this country anyway is so divisive. I know that there are, because I can see in my back end on the podcast production site that there are folks listening not from the US. So I have a lot of actually German listeners. So hello, guten Tag, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. That's the first largest country after the US as far as listeners, and Canada and the UK and on and on and on. So again, I'm not going to just talk about that only, but really in global news is very divisive as well. So between what's happening globally, in the country, in your small communities, I really, again, just want you to listen to this as it were a workshop, right? Try on the ideas that I'm talking about when I'm talking about different areas of life. Go in your mind, right? And picture who and what and where you need some powerful boundary setting. Let's get started, shall we? The reason, well, first of all, martial arts metaphor, right? How I do the art of badassery is we use a martial arts metaphor, and the boundary setting blocking technique is an entire belt level in the art of badassery framework. It's an entire chapter in the book. And finally, on this podcast, I'm actually dedicating an episode to it. But at orange belt level, as a martial artist, I started to realize that if you don't really get good at your blocks, right, all the blocking techniques, high blocks, low blocks, inside blocks, outside blocks, that you're gonna get punched in the face. You're gonna get kicked, you're gonna get taken down, and you're gonna spend way more time on the ground, bloody and bruised, right, and beat up than necessary. But when we start to practice our blocking techniques, whoo, then we get to protect ourselves. On the mat, that might look physical, but in life, that translates to protecting yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, right? All the different ways. Protecting your health, your inner peace. Oh, don't we need that these days? We need to protect everything that is good within us. We need to protect our authenticity. We need to protect our time, our energy, our resources, all of these different things. So with that said, I'm going to give you two definitions of boundary setting that I really like. The first one is mine. Plug. I came up with this when I was writing the book, but essentially it's saying no to people, places, and things that drain you of your power and or distract you from your purpose. So just to break that down a little bit for you, what do you think of when you think of the words power, your power? Again, I'm going to come up with answers that I've heard over and over and over again when I ask this all over the different audiences I speak to, but it is the things that I kind of just mentioned. It's peace, your peace, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, your health, your body. It is your power, your confidence, your energy, right? If we are energetic beings, then we need to protect that energy, that chi, that prana that lives and keeps us alive and vibrant. Okay, so that's your power. And then your purpose. For the sake of this definition, we don't need to get into, what's my life's purpose? Oh my God, I don't know what it is yet. Yes, you do, okay? You have a general idea of where you want your life to go. I'm assuming that. And if you don't, I'm going to need you to come in January when I offer again the digital vision board workshop, which I do actually now twice a year. I do it in January, so you can envision what your life, design your life, essentially what you want it to look like 3 years from now, so you can create the year ahead. And then we do it in June, so kind of like a mid-year realignment, because it really is just about setting up that vision and aligning your energy with it, right? Your energy, where you invest your energy, your time, your resources, etc. So again, just for the sake of this episode, just think of your purpose as your North Star vision. What's pulling you forward, right? What's getting you out of bed these days? What does your life look like 1, 3, 5, 10 years from now? And again, you don't have to have everything mapped out. Just how does it feel? How do you want to feel in your life? Empowered, powerful, confident, happy, joyful, peaceful? What's that like? And now think about anything that's distracting you from that vision. What is distracting you from your North Star vision, your purpose, your mission in life? Those are the places that we need to start putting more powerful boundaries in place. Make sense? All right, moving on. The second definition that I like is by Elizabeth Gilbert. She is the author of Eat, Pray, Love. So good. And I saw this written somewhere, so I didn't actually hear her say it, but I've been quoting her. And she says basically that boundary setting is like, it's drawing a golden circle around things that matter to you. And you say everything inside this circle is sacred. And here's where I'm going to riff on that, which is, okay, and now you have to protect it, right? So what do you consider sacred? Again, the answers people come up with usually very quickly is family, right? Relationships, friends, loved ones. Maybe it is your work, your career, if you care so much about it like I do, right? I want to protect that at all costs because it lights me up. It gives me more energy. It fuels me. It keeps me going forward. It is really up there on my North Star vision. It's the impact that I'm hopefully able to have on the world. I want to protect that. Um, Energy, time, what else? Peace, confidence, right? All the things, there can be lots and lots of similar answers to what I asked you before about what is your power. Now, what do you want to protect? Okay, what do you need to put in that golden circle and make sure you protect it at all costs? So, moving back to the metaphor, in martial arts, we have two different styles, essentially. We have hard styles of martial arts and soft styles of martial arts. Same goes with blocking. Our different blocks, depending on, which martial art you're in or learning from, but also even like in Hapkido, the martial art that I'm trained in, we use both. We use hard styles of blocking and soft styles of blocking. It just depends on the attack. So a hard block, essentially, I know a lot of you aren't watching the videos, but it looks and sounds like this. If an attack is coming at you, full speed ahead, you meet that force with a force equal to or greater than the initial assault. Okay, you can visualize that. Think Cobra Kai in Karate Kid. And then the other style is softer style. And a softer style block looks and sounds like this. You meet the incoming assault at first, right? And you start to blend with it. And then you get to deflect it away from you. So essentially, it's a circular motion, lots of circular motions that you get to deflect the initial assault, basically that wad of crap coming your way, right? You get to deflect it either back at your opponent or out into space, with the goal of really just thinking of it like a transfer of energy, right? That's all we're doing. We're kind of in this dance. If you've ever watched Hapkido or Aikido or different softer styles of defense, self-defense, you can see how actually powerful it is. And you can watch it and it kind of looks like a dance, right? There's just these beautiful blending and circular movements, okay? And all that to say that a softer block can be as powerful and sometimes even more powerful than a hard block. So where do we use these blocks? How do we know which block to use, et cetera, et cetera? Well, for the most part, again, there are millions of different situations, and I do encourage you to go back to your Art of Badassery book and really read this chapter because there's a lot of examples that you can really bite into. But essentially, here's the deal. There's hard styles and soft styles, and a hard style is going to be reserved for more toxic behavior that needs to be shut down in the moment. So, obviously, if I'm teaching self-defense and it's a physical assault, yes, we want a hard block. You want to hard block, get away from it as soon as possible. So whether that be, using your voice in a powerful way, shutting it down, saying no, back off, nope, never, never again, right? All of these, get away from me, do not touch me again, I'm calling the police, whatever that is, those are your hard styles of blocks. When do you use these? When you don't need to protect the relationship, right? If you need to stay in a relationship with somebody and protect the relationship, keep the relationship, you can't just leave it, just like a random guy on the street. That's a hard block. But if you can't just leave the relationship and you need to preserve the relationship, then you're going to pick more of a softer style of blocking. Okay, so back to the hard blocks. So these are reserved for toxic behavior. They're reserved for things that you need to shut down right away. Maybe you're on the street. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a professional or personal relationship unless you feel like the behavior that was just tossed at you is so egregious and so obnoxious that it does deserve a hard block, okay? So whether that be an inappropriate touch or someone speaks to you in a nasty tone, right? You can shut that down. You can say things like, never speak to me that way again, right? That's a hard block and quite warranted in a situation. Um, so in a hard block, you essentially can use things like no, nope, never. These are three one-word sentences that are complete as is. You don't feel like you have to explain yourself after a no, a hard block. You use a commanding tone and you use commanding language. So commanding language is like a verb. Do something or don't do something. Never do this again, right? Commanding language. There's no black or white. Let's move into soft blocks because this is a really fun, more fun conversation, I think. Because softer blocks happen probably a lot, right? A lot more than you would need a hard block, I hope, in your life. So softer blocks, like I said, this is where we need to preserve the relationship. So we have lots of different options. And I just came up with about 5 or 6 in the book that I'm going to share with you now and quick examples. This could work in personal relationships, right? Think family members, think professional relationships, people you work with, even your boss, if need be, or people that work under you, whatever it is. These are, vendors, etc. Soft blocks will work. So examples of soft blocks. The first one is to create distance from said insulter or attacker, right? We're just calling them attackers because we're using the martial arts metaphor. Obviously, they're not, hopefully. But to create distance is easy to think about in the physical realm, right? If you were walking down the street and someone was after you, you would create distance from the attacker by crossing the street, getting away from them. But in real life, like I said, we can't always do that. We have to preserve the relationship. Maybe we have to work with them, etc. So how can we do that? We can create distance by making ourselves less accessible to people. So how can you make yourself less accessible to people? Well, that's like drawing a boundary around how they communicate with you. If someone is used to you answering the call every time they call you, or texting back right away, or answering an email right away, making yourself less accessible, you put more time in between the response. Okay. It could look like if you have a boss that is expecting you to work all weekend, but you're not getting paid for it. And frankly, you want to protect your mental health and well-being over the weekend, then it would mean not answering emails over the weekend. And you may have to set a boundary by actually sharing that with them instead of just not doing it. But just depending on the work situation you're in, you can let them know. You can have an outgoing message. If you own your own business, for example, you can have an outgoing message that I will be checking emails from Friday at 5 till Monday morning, and I will get back to you within 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever that looks like for you. You can have systems built in to how you respond to people, how accessible you are. Okay, so think about that in your life. Is there anything that you need to have some distance from? The other thing that I want you to think about there is also a deflection truly just means to change the direction of something. So for example, if you walk into a conversation right now, I'm just going to give the example of politics that you think is totally going sideways. You don't want to be part of it. Don't want to get in a confrontation with people. And I think that's the key here is we want to not just go around making confrontations about this stuff, but can we just maybe change the direction of the conversation? So it's going in one direction, politics, it's getting uglier and uglier. Can you come in that conversation and deflect? Okay, that's one way. Or it's like people in your family that are always asking you like, when are you going to get married? Or when are you going to have kids? Or when are you going to have your next kid? Or all those inappropriate questions that people get asked so often. You can just change the subject. The point is, it's just energy transference and it's whoosh it away, okay? I have people actually stand up and do this with the noise. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. So you can do that in real life and just never let it stick to you. Okay? Then that's when we start to feel drained and deflated, and really our energy gets low and robbed from us. But we don't need to allow that. Okay, so we have the deflection. Next, we have the clarification. This is a real good one when you feel like someone either just used a really strange tone with you that you didn't like. Perhaps they were passive aggressive, very common. Perhaps they sent you a complisalt, that kind of, was that an insult, a compliment? I can't really tell. The clarification is really just to clarify what the person meant by asking them, hey, can you clarify what you meant by fill in the blank? Right? Great question. So we're going to get into some questioning, because this is where boundary setting can get fun. Again, it's like a dance, right? Instead of getting frozen, because when you feel assaulted, right, mentally, I'm talking again, mentally, emotionally, verbally, what happens? Well, it's the same as if a physical assault was coming towards you. Your amygdala is going to get hijacked. Your brain is hijacked by fear. We go into stress mode. The, alarms are being sounded off, fight, flight, or freeze. Stress hormones are now racing through your body. Cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, heart is racing, hands can get clammy, all the things. Just by somebody saying something to you has the same effect as if you were being physically threatened. So a lot of times when that happens, right, we're either going to want to fight back right away, and that's not always the best case scenario, or we want to flee, we want to run away from this conversation, but then later on we're like, darn it, I just wish I stuck up for myself, because here I am, I keep finding myself back again in the same type of situation because I didn't take care of it the first time. Or we have that freeze response where we're just kind of sitting there stunned going, did that really just happen? Did they really just say that? And you're totally blank. You don't know what to say. So before you choose any of these blocks that I'm going to finish for you, but started to anyway, I want you to take a big deep breath. Take a big deep breath in through the nose, out through the nose. If you can remember, just count it out. 5 in, 5 out. 5 in, 5 out. Even if you have to stand there breathing in front of the person to start to downregulate your nervous system. Because when you do that, then you'll have access to the part of the brain, the frontal lobe, where there's more logic, where you could get to be more creative, because all of that goes out the window when you're under fight or flight response. So you're going to breathe, and then you're going to choose. Do I want to create distance? Can I deflect? Can I ask a question back to clarify the person's intent? Can you clarify what you meant by? Or a fourth option is tell them how it lands. Like, I just heard you say, repeat back what they said, and it made me feel hurt, threatened, stressed, paranoid, right? What's coming up for you? Sad. And then, you can also follow that up with, was that your intention? Again, clarifying their intent behind the comment, behind the insult, behind whatever it was that they just threw at you. Okay. So obviously we're just talking about verbal attacks, if you will. And then last but not least, you can follow up with any question. Okay. If you can't remember, can you clarify that? Or was that your intention? Just ask any question. Because when you're asking a question in a conversation, especially a difficult conversation, you have the power back, right? You're asking for a response, especially if you're going to hold the gaze and you're going to just use a question sometimes just to give yourself time to really ask the question that you want to ask. Okay. So breathe with me. Let's practice. Breathe in, breathe out, and then choose. Create distance, deflect, clarify, tell them how it lands, follow up with a question, hold their gaze, wait for an answer. It holds people accountable for their words, for their actions, for their behaviors. Okay. And last but not least, so that's kind of in general how I like to go through boundary setting with folks. that's kind of against other people, or I should say, defense against other people. But really, a lot of the boundary setting that I'm doing in my own life, that I'm working with my clients with, is really boundary setting around yourself, right? It's about drawing those circles around yourself. So I have a worksheet for you. If you go to pages.jennifercassetta.com/boundaries, and I'll have it in the show notes as well. You'll just have kind of a journal prompts that you can fill out. But part of that is to really go through those things that are sacred to you and time blocking on your calendar. So time blocking is a really powerful way to set boundaries around what you consider sacred, your time, your energy, and all the things you invest into it. So with that said, thinking about right now, if it's, say, we're talking about your health, right? Where can you put a boundary on your calendar that is just about your health, right? Taking care of your health, self-care. For example, if it's your mental health and physical health and well-being that you want to work on, is there an hour of your day or even 30 minutes or even 10 minutes? I talk about this all the time, just small parts of your day that you can put in your calendar, like a walk outside in the neighborhood or your meditation or your journaling, but actually have it on your calendar and time block it out. So therefore, if you share a calendar with anybody or you just adhere to your calendar that this is the time I'm protecting, it's for myself. I need to fill up my cup before I fill into others. So I'll do another episode on morning routines, or I think I already have an episode on morning routines actually that you can go back to. I do. It's the 3 Ps of morning routines. Head back to that and really start thinking about how you can start your day off really powerfully with a boundary morning. Okay, really strong boundaries around that practice. Last but not least, I just want to remind you what happens if you do not set powerful boundaries. Well, if you don't, it's likely because you're putting everybody else's wants, needs, and desires above your own. AKA, it's called people pleasing. Approval whore is something that one of the audience members taught me one day. Yeah, I know what that is. I know porous boundaries. That's like being an approval whore. You're always seeking people's approval, so you're not putting you're doing whatever they want versus filling up your cup first, doing what you want and what's being true to yourself. So over time, when you're a people pleaser, you start to feel drained of your energy because you're just filling up other people's cups. And your positivity, everything starts to be drained away from you, your energy. And when that happens over time, some people live decades like this, you actually start to feel resentment and sometimes even anger. So what can we do instead? We set powerful boundaries before we burn out. Okay? That's my reminder for you today. I would love for you, again, to go get that boundary workout worksheet at pages.jennifercassetta.com/boundaries. So you can set better boundaries in your life, feel more powerful, protect your peace, do all the things that make you feel badass in this world, because it is your birthright to feel like a badass. Thank you, my friends. Make sure you subscribe and leave us a review, please, because these reviews really, really help spread the word about the Art of Badassery podcast. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.